enjoyable subject for me when we talk about skin and actually, in fact, skin serum, because if I indulge myself a little bit, it's where we get quite science techy, really. And the Hands and Heidi skincare range is incredible. And it complements what we do with skin serum really well. And this might sound like a contradiction because it's so different. The Hands and Heidi skincare routine is that kind of, it's an all-encompassing regime whereby you are invested in multiple aspects of skin nutrition and treating the skin as an organ. And the skin serum complements it really well. But the other benefit of the skin serum is it's a standalone product. And for some people, that in itself is sufficient and enough. And so I'm going to take you through a little bit of the science. I don't know how long I've got, and I'm going to try and do this as swiftly as I can. But I do love a bit of a science chat. I would encourage you to get your cameras ready. I'm happy to share the slides. There's no secrets here, but I would encourage you to get cameras ready. I'd encourage you to get a notebook and a pen because we're going to do a little bit of learning together. And anything, let's be honest with you, anything that relates to cells and cellular function is my bag. I love all that kind of stuff. So let's go there. I'm going to bring up some slides. Otherwise, it's not a real presentation. And it keeps me on track. Believe me, that's the hardest job, is keeping me on track. So skin serum, the science of skincare. And so there's a lot of science in what we do. In fact, everything we do is based on science. We're an evidence-based nutritional, test-based nutrition company. So for me to say that this one gets science techie, well, what's the difference? Because this one is different. We are very much preventative health. And for sure, when you look at our nutritional offering, that supports anybody in any type of circumstance. If you are completely free of any concern and you are investing in yourself going forward, or if you're dealing with a complex condition and you're looking to make sure you've got an optimal health status through dietary choices around that, our products work and they support magnificently. But when we get into the skin, it's really clever. And I'm going to talk you through why and what makes that so clever now. So bear with me as we delve in. And you might know this. So forgive me if I tell you things that you already know, but I know that some people won't. But your body contains lots of biomes. And we often here at Zinzino, we discuss the gut microbiota, which is really, really complex and is an organ in itself. And it's diverse and it has its own ecosystem and population, and it's sensitive and it's vulnerable. And we really have to invest a lot of thought and concern as to how we treat that environment. Everything I've just said, you can say about your skin. It is complex. It relies on multiple pathways of communication. It is diverse, and literally everything you do on a daily basis has an influence on your skin. It's the biggest organ in your body. It's what puts you in touch with the world. You determine so much sensory information about the world around you through the skin. It's the first level of protection. And it's all too easy to talk about, well, you know, protection from the sun, and for sure that's important. But let's get real about the worlds we live in. Let's get real about the modern world. There are toxins in the air produced by cars, produced by industry. There are in the home, and most of us live in quite modern homes. You know, the way these places are manufactured with the electricity and all these things that happen, well, they all have an influence on us because we are this multifaceted organism. And this is the first line of defense. And people will often say, and in fact, we had a request recently, when will Zinzino produce a sunblock serum? Like, it's essential. Our focus is on nurturing everything that we have. And remember, the one part of the skin that is actually quite sensitive and vulnerable that is exposed to all of this for most of the time is the face. So we have to consider the face as a first port of call. And so what we see across this biome here, which we call the extracellular matrix, and this is where it gets really interesting, because now we're talking about the architecture. We're talking about the framework of life. So they're literally the structures within which these cells form and function and create all kinds of incredible things on a daily basis. And so what we have here are not only biochemical and biomechanical cues, but we also see tissue morphogenesis, differentiation, and that homeostasis, which is the dynamic art of equilibrium. Balance. Balance matters, and it matters everywhere. Hence why most of our philosophy hinges off balance, balance in life. So let's have a closer look. There on the left, you have the epidermis, then you have what people call the dermal layer, which is the papillary dermis, the reticular dermis, and then the hypo. On the right is that top level, the epidermis. And most creams, this is true, it's very non-sensational to say, most creams and most manufacturers of skin creams only focus on that part, the epidermal layer, which, forgive me now, it's a bit like putting plaster over the crack. You know, it's a case of, that doesn't look great. It's okay, we'll just plaster it up and just take it every day and keep plastering the cracks, but the cracks are still there. The problem that created the cracks are still there. And this is a key thing to consider, because one of the most profound aspects of skin serum is its functionality. And that's where we go right back to the left. This is why when that serum was developed, it was consideration of the epidermal, the papillary, the reticular, and the hypo that came into consideration. How can you affect the biome? How can you affect how the whole system is structured and communicates? That's the powerful part. And that's why it gets really science techy. I love sharing a real picture. That's what it looks like in reality, in 3D color. I like to geek off on these things, and I hope that you benefit from it too. That's what it looks like when you add in a multicolor strain so you can see these things in real time. It's incredible. And I like to draw attention to people's, the fact that so much of us looks like the universe around us. And that alone is miraculous to me. So let's have a look at the natural process of skin aging. We have that epidermal and that dermal level, which has the collagen within it. And as we age, which we all do, which is why I don't like the term anti-aging, because I don't believe we are anti-aging. What we're trying to do is optimize how we are for the age we are. But that's just a minor point. What happens is the aging of the dermis has a collagen loss of approximately 2% accrued per annum. And that's if you're doing things pretty well. Believe me, there are people who are way rapidly advancing that rate of loss because of smoking, vaping, too much alcohol consumption, too little water, poor dietary choices, and absolutely zero of a kind of method or practice when it comes to their skincare. They don't do anything. So there's a lot of people around us who you could say visually they age in advance. And that comes down to that difference between a biological age and a chronological age. So how long you've been here and how long it looks like you've been here. And we see a lot of people around us who look way too old for how they actually are. And that's what we call advanced aging, because this loss is more significant. So the framework, the architecture is compromised. And when we look at that, and the reason I want you to look at this picture, this is really important, because there is a key change that people don't draw enough attention to. So for sure, we can see that epidermal layer and we can see the changes. And in the 60-year-old, we see the big crease. But again, I want to draw your attention back to that dermal and hypodermal, because what we see here, all around these areas here, if you look how dense this is, think of the biome again. Look at this, we see a change, but compared to this area, we've lost so much. And so really an approach to this is to optimize and support and enable all of this to keep functioning as it should, to nurture and nourish all of it. And that's what we're big on, is nutrition. And our approach to skin nutrition is exactly the same as it is to food nutrition. Try to optimize the whole system. And here's how we do it. So we have our active ingredients. It's such a good product. I'll get into the kind of practicalities of it really quickly at the end. We have 4 key active ingredients. We've got the squalene, we've got the 1,3,1,6 beta glucans, those tocophenols and tocotrienols, and the olive polyphenols. And these block like crucial aspects. These start to protect. Think of these as protective compounds. So these things that we're subjected to and the way that life takes its toll, we've got something working on a protective level. And then we delve into this a little bit more deeply. And then we've got our other active ingredients. And this is where we get into enabling what we call fibroblasts. So what do we mean by this? What we mean is that not only are we looking at restoring, cracking over, like plastering over the cracks and protecting, what we're also doing is sending something that has the capacity to trigger the body to do more of what it should do. Those fibroblasts are keeping the system energized and alive. And eventually what happens is that a person who starts a regime of using skin serum, you'll start correctively. So you'll start to apply the cream and you'll start to correct things that have happened. And then what happens with consistent use is you maintain a practice that maintains functionality. So now we're investing forward. So we actually do turn our skin routine into preventative health. Because once we take hold of the situation, now what we're doing is we're feeding forward. We're investing in the future. We're maintaining that activity across all those 4 levels. So we're making the biome remain intact and function as it would and as it should, where we 25, 30, 40. And as we age, we're maintaining that activity. It's a clever, sophisticated, science-packed product. And so, by rebuilding the extracellular matrix, and remember, I say this all the time, you are the outcome of the things you do most often. So consistency is key. So when you do this twice a day, every day, as a part of a good habit, well, we start to hydrate and smooth the skin. This is a side note. I never really delve into anecdotes, but I'm going to. So enjoy yourselves. This might never happen again. But I promise you, people who've had a skin irritant, who've had low-level sunburn, get great relief and rapid responses from the application of skin serum, because it's working at that functional level. It's encouraging things to restore. It increases the elasticity and strength of the skin and reduces those fine lines and wrinkles. And for some people, that's all that matters. And I get that. That's great. But for me, it's the other parts, because we're trying to optimize the organism, trying to optimize the organ so that it can do what it needs to do. But rebuilding takes time. And you all know better than me, because you're front facing. You do the hard part. You have the conversations with people every day to win them over to think about health differently. And people like to see things quick. And actually, skin serum does work quite quick. That's why people like it. They see results when they look back in the mirror, but it still does take time. But the first win is what we see as the fast-acting agents, those compounds that are bringing about an anti-inflammatory effect and also a hydrating agent. So actually, within 72, 168 hours, people start to see and feel a difference in their skin because of those fast-acting compounds. But I promise you now, the longer you spend and the more consistent you are, the better those results will be. And people like flowery terms like age-defiant and anti-aging. I think, no, we're just normalizing the aging process again. And we're being realistic about those things that affect us, and we're being proactive in doing something about it. One of the things that I love about it that is so practical is that if you're traveling, if you're on the go, it's this big, you can put it in the bag. It's airport friendly. It's a simple routine that you can take anywhere. I've got vacation coming up. If you're anything like me, I intend to spend at least 4 nights sleeping on top of a mountain.